besties, welcome back to my channel. So on today's video we are going to be talking about emergency funds. So what is emergency fund, why do you need an emergency fund, how to save an emergency fund, and my journey with my own emergency fund. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. So what is an emergency fund? So emergency fund is the money you keep aside for unavoidable, unexpected, and urgent expenses. So we know that life is filled with uncertainties. A lot of things can happen that is unexpected, and this is what is called an emergency. So we'll keep some part of our money by the side for emergencies that occur in life. It can be health related, it can be losing a job, it can also be losing a loved one, that you will be out of job, you need to stay some time out of job. It can also be like something going wrong with the house, maybe your toilet gets spoiled and you need to repair it, or maybe your car breaks down and you would need to fix your car or get a new car. So these are the funds that you need to keep aside for such emergencies. So an emergency fund, as someone that is on a financial journey for a healthy finance or financial freedom, you know that at some point in this financial journey you'll be going into investments, stock buying, shares, starting up a business, or whatever it is that you will do to increase your finances. So these are risk ventures that might either pay up in the future or not pay off in the future. So you might incur gains or you might incur loss. So you need to save up your emergency fund so that you don't go back to where you are coming from. When you started the financial journey, maybe you started with zero money on your account, you have debts that you needed to pay and all that. So you paid these debts, you increased your finance from zero pound or zero naira, $0 to a certain amount of money, and now you are at a particular stable stage. If you don't save up for emergencies, if something happens in the future, you see yourself going back, either you're going back into debt or you see yourself going back into borrowing from other people, or you see yourself going back into zero account again. So these are funds that you save and keep aside to give a balance to your life. It gives you a sort of balance to your life. So how and what does emergency fund entails? Emergency fund is your essential living expenses for 3 to 6 months. Generally it's say 3 to 6 months. You can make it more, you can make it less depending on your situation. Some people save as much as 1 year of their essentials. So what is your living essentials? That includes your rent, your accommodation, anyhow, a roof over your head. Is either maybe you have a house and you're paying mortgage on it, or you have a house and you're paying rent on it, or you have your own home, you're no longer paying mortgage or anything, but you need some amount of money to do some maintenance on the home to keep it running. So that accommodation. The second is what? Food, in terms of grocery, anything that you need to run your daily activities. So groceries, number 2. The third one is transportation. You'll be needing your transportation. Then the fourth one is health. So if you are paying for your health insurance, or you are paying as you go, like when you go to hospital you pay for what you spend in the hospital, or you pay for your health insurance upfront, then, or you pay for your health insurance monthly, or you pay for it yearly, it should be included in your living essentials. So these are basically your living essentials, because subscription and other things that you can do without them. Then in your accommodation it should also include maybe your bills, like your water and your gas and your electricity bills. So now, if you watch my last video of how I made £10,000, you will remember that after the whole expenditure, paying off my debts, living expenses and stuff, I had £725 remaining. So from that £725, I have planned to save up for my emergency fund, and I want to save for 6 months emergency fund. My basic living expenses is £650, so I'll be needing to save 5,200 for my emergency fund. That is my emergency fund for 6 months. So I am currently saving for my emergency fund. So before, what is worth of note is that before you start saving for your emergency fund, you should, number 1, keep your essential living expenses for 1 month, which I did in the other previous video. Then the second thing you should do is to pay your high interest debts. I'm not talking about paying off your mortgage or paying off your lease, all those kind of things. No, your high interest debt, like if you have, and your time framed debt. If you have money that you're owing someone and you're giving the person your word to pay in 3 months or 6 months or 1 year, you should pay that off. Secondly, if you have credit card that you used, you maxed out your you used, and they are charging you interest on it, it's advised that you pay that off. Or any form of interest, any form of loan that you are paying more than 5 to 7% annually on, is advised that you pay that off first of all before you start saving for your long-term emergency fund. Then the third one is now to start saving for your emergency fund. So it depends on you. You can use the 50-30-20 rule. You can also use the 50-50 rule. You can also use the 50-60-40 rule. So what is the, I will do a video explaining all this rule. But 50-30-20 rule is that 50% of your income goes for your basic expenses, while 20% go for savings for your emergency fund, and 30% is your money for other things apart from your essential living, like for your subscription, for your fun activities, traveling, or whatever it is. Then the 50-50 rule is the one that when you get your income, you remove 50% of it for your essential needs and 50% of it go directly to saving for your emergency fund. You remove like fun activities, subscription, all those things, you remove it, then you save 50%. So say you earn £1,000 and your living expenses is £500. So £500 for your living expenses and £500 for your emergency fund. So I have started saving. And another thing you should also do is to don't leave your emergency fund in a current account. You should open up a savings account, a high interest savings account, and save your emergency fund there, because that money is going to be there for a very long time. So you might not need it immediately. So you should just save it there while it's yielding interest. Then other savings you do can also go into other things like investing and the rest, but you have that savings in a high interest savings account. Then another thing you should do with emergency fund is that you should also understand what emergency fund stands for. It's not a fund that you go and take money from when you run out of your budget. No, it is for unavoidable, unexpected, and urgent occurrences. So whatever you are spending the money for, it must be urgent. It must be something that you cannot move to the next month. If it's something that maybe if you don't do it immediately, nothing will spoil, you can still move it to the next month and you will do it. You leave it and you put it into your next month's budget. If it's unexpected, so you don't know that something like this will come up, not like you know that in the month of August you were supposed to pay for something and you don't pay for it, and when it gets to August you will now go to your emergency fund and you pull out fund from there and pay. That is not emergency fund. It should also be unavoidable. So what this means is that it should be something that you cannot do without. So it's not something that you have an option around. Maybe you want to go for a vacation, or you want to attend a wedding or do one party or the other, and you remember that you have an emergency fund somewhere. So you will now go to your emergency fund and go and collect money and say later you replace it. No, you are not doing your emergency fund well. So if you have tagged that money an emergency fund, you should also remember to make sure that whatever you use that money for must be unexpected, unavoidable, and urgent. Then another thing you have to know about emergency fund is that you should keep it in an accessible account. In as much as you want to put it in a high savings account, you should not lock it away for fixed you fix it like fixed amount, or account that is closed that you cannot access, because it's an emergency fund and you are supposed to be able to access it in case of emergency. You should keep it in an account that you can access. So you keep your emergency fund in an accessible account where if anything for any reason that you need that money, you can access that money immediately. So let me recap all I said from the beginning. Number one, your emergency fund should be 3 to 6 months or more depending on your situation. Secondly, you should devise a means to save your emergency fund, either 50-50, 50-20-30, or other means of savings. Thirdly, you should pay off any high debt or any time framed debt before you start saving for your emergency fund. Fourth, your emergency fund should not be left in a current account. It should be in a savings, a high interest savings account. It should also be accessible to you, that you can get it whenever you want. Fifth, the emergency fund should not be used for unbudgeted expenses, or used for fun activities, or used for irregular spending, like things that just come up. A friend just calls you that one thing, you go to emergency fund, take money from there. No, it should be used for unexpected, unavoidable, and urgent occurrences. So it should only be used during emergency. I hope this helps you, and on this channel I will share with you shortly how I'm able to save my £5,200 of emergency funds, the method that I used, and the bank that I am saving it on. Remember to subscribe. See you in my next one. Bye bye.